You guys, JoJo on the radio, hanging out, of course, with the one, the only Lady Gaga. Gaga, I know you're going to perform in a couple of seconds, but I want to ask, even before you step behind the piano, a specific, I heard you tell a story about a specific song, Edge of Glory.
Yes.
And as you know, I've interviewed everybody 1,000 times. I've asked artists multiple times to describe this song, describe the inspiration for that song. 9 times out of 10, you know, I can almost tell you what they're going to say before I even ask the question. Rarely do I get brought to tears when I hear a description of a song. I heard you describe Edge of Glory. You guys, when you hear this, you're probably going to cry. The Edge of Glory story, I believe it was the inspiration for the entire song. Your grandmother and grandfather, in love their entire life, they're sitting next to the bed, or she's sitting next to the bed as he is about to pass. And I'll stop right there, say whatever you want about that story. Such an insane, beautiful...
Well, I'd never experienced death before in my family. It was my very first time, and my grandmother and grandfather were married for 60 years, and my grandma was a virgin when they got married. So there was this sort of purity between the two of them, and I just remember feeling so sad, and yet I knew that when he looked at her and when she looked back, even though he couldn't really move, I knew that they both sort of acknowledged that they had won at life, because they won at love with each other.
And you're sitting there watching this happen? Or?
I was sitting there watching it happen, and I got very emotional, and we went home, and he didn't die that night. And I just remember they called my dad, and they said, Joe, we think Joe, because, we're Italian, so it's Joe's and Joe's and Joe's for Miles. And Giuseppe was my grandfather. So they said, Joe, we think he's going to go tonight. So my dad got very upset. He started crying, and I sat him down at the piano next to me. And we started to drink tequila back and forth. And my dad just started doing shots. I've got that kind of relationship with my dad, He's really cool, and we've sort of come to terms with how similar we are. So I just started to play the piano, and I wrote The Edge of Glory. And, my dad never really wrote music with me, but he was always kind of around the piano when I was a kid going, yeah, kid, that's good. That's good, kid, right there, that one, that note right there, that's the one. Or that's the lyric right there. So he was crying, and I was crying, and I was writing this song, and he was saying, that's it, that's it. And I felt like, for whatever reason, I was able to express what my dad couldn't express, which was that what was so hard was to watch him be on the edge and watch him cross over but not be there yet. So I wrote this song for my grandfather, and it was very important to me that Clarence was in the video. Clarence played saxophone in the East Street Band for Bruce Springsteen, and he and I became very close friends, and I viewed him as a father figure in my life. And he died the day that the music video came out. So it's sort of ironic and interesting how life and art imitate one another. I'm just glad that Grandpa and Clarence are up in heaven together.
Isn't that a beautiful story, you guys? Just, wow. Now when I hear Edge of Glory, that's all I think about is that story. I know it's a great dance song and all that, but...
Yeah, I love listening to it, but it is hard now for me to listen to it. But whenever it gets to that sax part, I just turn it up so loud, and I just dance in the car, and I look up into the sky, and I just know he's watching. I know they're both watching.
All right, y'all. Lady Gaga in the studio. Back in a sec!